Hello, I am Jason Houston, Dean of Gonzaga in Florence, and welcome to this short video on Agnolo Bronzino's Portrait of Dante Alighieri. You are looking at one of the most powerful and famous portraits of Dante Alighieri, the famous Tuscan poet who wrote the Divine Comedy, painted by the Renaissance master Agnolo Bronzino in 1532. Bronzino was the court painter to the first Medici dukes in Florence. This portrait was originally intended to accompany the other famous Tuscan poets, the so-called Tre Corone, Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio, in an ornate private chamber dedicated to the mysteries of divine love, commissioned by a Florentine banker named Bartolomeo Bettini. While those other two portraits have not survived the intervening centuries, if they were ever painted at all, Pontormo's painting, based on a pencil drawing by Michelangelo, Venus and Cupid, gives a hint at the rich allegorical visions this chamber would have realized in putting together historical figures of Florence's illustrious past, Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio, with allegorical representation of love's power to lead the mind to transcendental truths. It would have been a monument to the important intellectual and artistic tradition that still defines Florence as the cradle of the Renaissance. We will get to the rich details of this allegorical portrait presently, but first I want to note that this portrait in a private collection is currently being shown in a special exhibition at the Certosa del Galluzzo, located just outside of Florence. The exhibition marks the beginning of the celebration of the 700th anniversary of Dante Alighieri's death in 1321. Founded in the 1340s through a donation from Niccolò Acciaioli, a Florentine merchant and condottiere who made his fortune in Naples, rising to the highest honors and position, the Grand Seneschal in the Angevin court that ruled southern Italy, this complex of buildings was meant to host a contingent of Carthusian monks, hence the name Certosa, but also a studium, a kind of academy dedicated to poetry, philosophy, and the arts. It is likely that Acciaioli's friend, Giovanni Boccaccio, who also served as Acciaioli's lawyer in the endowment for the Certosa, was to be, along with Petrarch, the founding intellectuals of this academy. So bringing Dante's portrait here to the Certosa is in a sense realizing the vision of Acciaioli and Boccaccio back in 1340 and uniting in a special way Petrarch, Boccaccio, and Dante again. The Certosa is currently in the hands of the community of San Leolino, and Gonzaga in Florence, through our chaplain Don Alessandro Andreini, who is part of this community, has a special connection with the Certosa. We hope to see you here for an event sometime in the future. Back to our painting. The main subject of this brief video. This allegorical portrait of Dante shows Bronzino's rich Mannerist portraiture style, while also containing some hermetic or hidden elements that need an expert eye to explain. First of all, we see Dante, central, holding in his hands his Divine Comedy, open to Canto 25 of Paradise. We will come back to the importance of the lines of that canto on display. On Dante's right, our left, we see Dante almost shunning Florence as he turns away from Brunelleschi's dome and Giotto's campanile, and the fires of Inferno that come up from the bottom corner of the painting. Dante, like Bartolomeo Bettini, who commissioned this painting, was a political exile from Florence, and Bronzino's portrait captures the anger and disdain, but also the desire for return that fueled the fire of Florence's many political exiles. But Bronzino's Dante looks forward to better things. He gazes across the bay towards Mount Purgatorio, the second realm of Dante's poem. While a detailed analysis of this painting shows that Bronzino included a number of details of Dante's description of purgatory, the immediate impact on the viewer, as it seems to be on Dante's attention in this painting, is the ring of fire on the top of the mountain. This is a clear reference to Dante's seventh terrace of Purgatorio, where the sin of lust is expurgated by a cleansing fire. It is in Canto 25 of Purgatorio, a direct parallel to Canto 25 of Paradiso, prominently displayed in this painting in Dante's book, that Dante distinguishes between proper divine love and earthly desire or lust. It is in this canto and this same area of Purgatorio that Dante meets many other Tuscan love poets, indicating the danger of confusing lust and love that poets risk for themselves and for their readers. Which brings us back to the book in Dante's hand, the copy of his Commedia opened up to Canto 25. Canto 25 of Paradise is dedicated to the Christian virtue of hope, and at the beginning of the canto, Dante expresses his most resolute hope, one that was never fulfilled while he lived. Here are the first 9 lines of the Canto 25 in the book Dante's holding. Should it ever come to pass that this sacred poem to which heaven and earth have set their hand, so that it has made me lean for many years, should overcome the cruelty that locks me out of the fair sheepfold where I slept as lamb, foe of the wolves that war with it, with another voice then, with another fleece, shall I return a poet to the font where I was baptized and take the laurel crown. Canto 25 attests to Dante's hope to be remembered in Florence as a poet in spite of his exile. We also remember that Bettini, who commissioned this painting, was in exile too. So Dante's unjust exile suggests Bettini thought himself similarly unfairly treated by Florence and her destructive politics. But how does this all connect to the theme of divine love? Exile, politics, lust? A final detail of the painting, largely overlooked by scholars, provides a key to reading Bronzino's painting in terms of the room's theme of love. Central in the painting, but small enough to escape immediate notice, just below Dante's left elbow, a small boat navigates from the bay and sets out for the open seas. While difficult to see, it is possible to discern perhaps 2 figures in the boat. It has been suggested that this is the boat that carries souls to Purgatorio, but Bronzino's rendering contains features, the sail, the wake it leaves, that Dante specifically indicates were not present on the boat he describes in Purgatorio 2. Instead, I think that this little boat represents the opening of Canto 2 of Paradise, which I'll read a little bit of right now. O you eager to hear more who have followed in your little bark, my ship that singing makes its way, turn back if you would see the shores again. Do not set forth upon the deep, for losing sight of me, you would be lost. You other fews who craned your necks in time to reach for angel's bread, which gives life to us, yet never leaves us satisfied, you may indeed set out your ship afloat upon the salty deep, keeping to the furrow I have made before the sea goes smooth again. This direct address to the reader at the outset of Paradise provides both an invitation and a warning. The reader who is unprepared for the journey should turn back her little boat because the journey ahead is too difficult. But those others who have feasted upon angel's bread, philosophical and theological studies is what Dante means, can follow in Dante's wake to journey to mystical understanding of divine love. One of the leitmotifs of Dante's poem reiterates through the metaphor of a sea journey the danger and potential rewards of his poetic vision in the Commedia, which proposes to represent philosophical and theological arguments in vernacular poetry, not in theology or philosophy. Bronzino's painting depicts the beginning of that journey in Paradiso as the boat makes its way out from the safe harbor and leaves a wake for the reader, or the viewer in this case, to follow if prepared to navigate the shoals of lust to journey towards divine love. Bronzino's placement of the little boat setting out to sea in his Portrait of Dante invites the erudite reader who would have been admitted into this secret chamber to understand this room's theme of amor from a privileged philosophical, theological perspective, without risking the pitfalls of lust. This perspective can be best encapsulated by the cultural milieu of the Neoplatonic Academy founded by Marsilio Ficino in Florence in 1462, and frequented by Bettini and Bronzino and Pontormo, Bronzino's master and friend. Ficino's initial project gathered the best thinkers around to work on the translation and diffusion of Plato and other Neoplatonic philosophers in Italian and Latin from Greek. But by the time of Bettini's commission of Bronzino's portrait, the Academy had turned to the study of Hermetic philosophical traditions, among other occult subjects. The poetry of Dante and the other Tuscan poets represented in this room represents, in this cultural context, the best example of Tuscan artists to strive for truth beyond the corporeal, offering a vehicle to a mystical experience of love, which coincides with the knowledge of God. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this short mini lecture and the beautiful images you've seen of the Certosa and of Bronzino, and I invite you to watch other videos on Gonzaga and Florence's YouTube channel. Please don't forget to click like, leave some comments, and subscribe to the Gonzaga and Florence YouTube channel.